Okay, agenda, let's go ahead and get started this morning. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, December 8th, 2017.
Commissioner Repenning, James Davison, Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Jose Fuentes, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Anita Fernandez, LA Sanitation.
Good morning, Angelica Samayoa with the Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We did receive a speaker card on item number 1, 5, and 6 for today's agenda.
Okay, is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, November 15th, 2017 by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 8, specifications have been submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids in Council District 14 for the Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station Stormwater and Safety Improvements. The estimate's $7,529,880, and the bid receipt date is Wednesday, January 17, 2018. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 8 forthwith? By Commissioners Repenning and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8. Agenda item number 7 is an authority for expenditure. State Water Resource Control Board, the Bureau of Sanitation, and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and an execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $5,294. That brings us to a new adjusted amount of $20,800 for the State Water Resource Control Board Environmental Monitoring Division Environmental Laboratory Accreditation Program Certificate Annual Renewal Fees. That's a long one. Due by December 31, 2017. Mr. Pujari?
Good morning. I am Dr. Mahesh Pujari, and I am the Acting Division Manager of the Environmental Monitoring Division. I'm here to present that in sanitation, we have a laboratory called division. We provide analytical service, and this is called Environment Monitoring Division. We have 4 laboratories, and one located at Hyperion, one is located at Tillman, DCT, and one is LAG Glendale, and one is Terminal Island. And each laboratory operates independently, getting permission and certification from the State Water Board, because we discharge our effluent to either to the ocean or to the LA River. So it's less like getting a driver license, and without license we cannot operate. And this program operated by the State Water Board, for 15 years they did not increase any fee. But last year they increased the fee, and due to this increase, we are forced to comply with the fee payment, and this is increasing the fee, and that's the reason you see the increase. And we don't have a choice without paying.
Okay. Well, thank you for the background on that. Any questions? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7 so we can pay our fees. Is there a second? Commissioner Repenning, any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 7 forthwith? We will send number 7 forthwith. Agenda item number 2, above ground facility appeal. Mr. Ledoux, you're requesting that we continue this item to Wednesday, December 13th. Is that correct? Okay. Without objection, we'll continue agenda item number 2 to Wednesday, December 13th. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jacinto.
President James, I just want to recommend, Jeff, if we can make sure that the application this is AT&T, correct?
Yes, it is.
That they be present. They weren't here the last time. I want to make sure that they're here for this.
They have been informed, so they'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So number 2 continued to December 13th with the request that AT&T be present. Agenda item number 5. Bureaus of Street Services, Street Lighting, Contract Administration requested contract award in Council Districts 8, 9, and 10. Tree trimming for street lighting illumination in the parkways. Recommending that the board declare the contract for trimming of 2,137 trees in the parkways of the streets listed above to be awarded, although we didn't list any streets above, to be awarded to Thrifty Tree Service, the lowest responsible bidder, at the amount of $416,715. Second, authorize, and I guess the reference to the above streets would be in the contract. Second, authorize myself or two board members to execute the contract for the project after approval as to form by the city attorney has been obtained. Number three, instruct the executive officer of the Board of Public Works to immediately advise Thrifty Tree Service to submit their bonds and insurance documents within 5 working days after the date of notification of award of the contract by the Board of Public Works. And number four, instruct the executive officer of the Board of Public Works to immediately advise Thrifty Tree Service that work on the project must start within 5 working days from the date of issuance of the notice to proceed. Mr. Benuelos, we will start with you. We have Ms. Rhodes on a speaker card, but why don't you summarize it for us, or Mr. Tyson, whichever one you prefer, and then we will go to Ms. Rhodes. So go ahead, sir.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Hector Manuelos, Urban Forestry Division. The scope of this project here is to trim 2,137 trees in Council Districts 8, 9, and 10. As the Bureau's estimated project cost was $277,810. The contract was advertised on October 21st of 2015, and the bids were opened on December 2nd of 2015. Thrifty Tree Service was declared the lowest responsive bidder, the total bid amount of $416,715. That's an average cost of $195 per tree. If awarded, the contract will provide for trimming of approximately 2,137 trees to improve street lighting illumination. We ask that the contract be approved and executed by your board as soon as possible.
Okay, I'm not going to steal, thank you, Hector. I'm not going to steal any of Molly Rhodes' thunder on the issues here. Ms. Rhodes, we have your speaker card. Go right ahead.
Good morning. So first of all, I wanted to thank you for postponing this item from the last time so that we would have an opportunity to speak about it. SEIU 721 had concerns about outsourcing this because we're watching tree trimming broadly. We understand this is for street lighting specifically, and that's its own animal. We did have concerns about, we didn't think we got noticed per the 1022 process and our MOU section 2.10. And also just, we know you share these concerns, but to hear again a per tree price of $195 when before the recession the average price was $55. It's like we still don't have control over this problem, and it kind of undermines the whole purpose of 1022s because it's supposed to be a cost savings. So, thank you.
Thank you, Molly. First of all, I'm just going to agree with you, of course, and there are a number of problems here. I'm going to support this today because we need to get the work done. But unfortunately for us, the market knows that, and we have to approve a contract that the lowest bid was 50% high. The second low bid is 89.23% high, and the third low bid is 156.15% high. We work hard to put in a fair estimate of what the cost per tree should be. And we have reviewed it, and we are in this scenario where even though we have our own crews, which before we didn't even have our own crews, so we're able to compete to a certain degree with the market, but not as much as we need to, and this is reflective of that. And I support and I know that we have budget proposals, and I'm just going to make this public. We have discussed this with labor, with 721, it is our board's goal to my goal at least, to eventually do away with this contracting on this service. I think that this ought to be a service that is handled by city employees. We have enough of a backlog of tree trimming work that there's going to be plenty of work to do for these crews for 30 years, which seems to be this threshold. We have had to contract out because we haven't had the staff to do this kind of work. The Great Recession, the Bureau of Street Services in this area, I'm going to see if I can get my summary numbers generally right, was right around 200 people. After the Great Recession with early retirements and the like, we ended up with less than 100. We're now back up to about 140. If we have success in the budget package for what we're asking for this year, this is assuming we bat 1,000. With what we're asking for this year and what we anticipate asking for 2019-2020, the following year, we'll be up to 189, which is almost to the 2008 area. So we still have a long way to go here, and it frustrates me to have to approve these contracts, but we have to. We have to get the services done. This community is entitled to this service. I want to thank the leadership at 721 for working with us. We might have hit a speed bump, admittedly, on the 1022 analysis, which we will make sure we get better next time. And we appreciate working with us to allow this to go through. And I know, Molly, I told you that we would share with you our budget proposal for this year as well, which I know is completed. We'll get that from the Bureau. Commissioner Repenning.
I just wanted to express as well my support for our ongoing effort to add more full-time employees at the Bureau of Street Services to help manage our urban canopy. Our urban forest is a critical part of our city's infrastructure. It's important in terms of sustainability, of livability, all of the really important goals that we have. We can't, having experts to help us maintain our street trees is not, it's not a luxury. It's a core part of what we do, and it's something we're always going to need to do. We're always going to have trees. Hopefully we'll have many more trees than we have now. That's my goal anyway. So, this is an area where it makes all the sense in the world to have staff at the city handling it, as opposed to us having to go out and deal with this marketplace, which is really not favorable. It's not competitive. I wanted to ask as well about the infraction from non-completion from 2013 for this company. The high price, the questions about the disparity and the quality of the work. In my mind, I support this item here today because we do want to get the work done. But we've been having the discussion internally. We've already added city staff for this over the last couple of years. We've got an ask in next year's budget, and we'll have one as well in the following year to really try to build back that city team that we can trust to do the job correctly into the future. So thank you, Hector. Just the only question out of that is really about the citation for non-performance of the work in 2013 and whether that's a concern that you have.
Yeah, that happened a while back on a contract. If I remember correctly, that was a contract that Thrifty inherited from another contractor, and there was a lot of discrepancy with the costs, and it led into, a big mess, right, in a few words. So I don't know exactly the full details of that, or what happened there, but in the end, it turned out that Thrifty just did not comply with what he was required to do. But however, they are performing work on other contracts with the city, and the level of work is acceptable. It's been much improved, and they have not walked away from any contract, nor have we had any serious disputes of their work. And so far, so good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. Just a couple more points I want to make before going to my colleagues on this as well. The having our own crews enables us very critical flexibility in dealing with this kind of work, the kind of flexibility that you need on a day like today when we are dealing with a wind event, number one. Number two, when we trim these trees pursuant to a contract, those are the trees that are going to be trimmed. And if you want to vary that in any way, then you open up the contract to modification. And that's always a problem. If you have a dispute with the contractor over whether the work is sufficiently done, that ends up being a breach of contract action, which brings in all the lawyers, and that doesn't make economic sense either. When you have unsatisfactory work done and we have our own crews doing it, we can simply send them back out to get the work right. So there's an accountability factor. So there are just all kinds of reasons that we need to support and grow the budget requests we have in this area. Commissioner Jacinto, I'll start with you and then go to Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, President James. I agree with you and Commissioner Repenning on the pain in which we are having to review and approve this contract to get the work done, but really the stewardship of the public right-of-way of our urban forestry and our urban canopy lies, as our mayor states, and back to basics agenda with us, with the city. So we do look forward to, because we have all the compelling issues of budget and of trustworthiness and quality of work. So I think that, Hector, although we're doing this today, we look forward to a time that we're going to celebrate the addition of crews and get back to where we should be in order to move. So Tim, I know this is something that is difficult as well for our UFD, but I believe we're going to get there, and with advocacy and working together with labor, that we'll be there where we were and beyond.
Yes, Commissioner Jacinto and Commissioner Penning and Commissioner Davis and President James, I want to remind the board that a couple of years back in the budget, we were authorized funding to assign inspectors to the crews every day, all day long, and that's what's changed the outcome of the quality of work right now that we have been seeing since 2013 when that incident may have occurred.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I also agree with the Board of Public Works in terms of what recommendation ought to be moving forward. I've noticed this report is a joint report including both street services and street lighting as well as contract administration. It is my hope that as we move to make this a recommendation, that the bureaus will be equally as assertive as an advocate that this recommendation take place, given that each of them certainly have to partake in trying to make sure that this task is done to trim trees on occasion, particularly as it relates to helping the illumination in this area. So I hope, again, that all of our bureaus will join in making sure that we let the council know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this would certainly be financially prudent. And I think it's also important for us to create work for those citizens in the city of Los Angeles upon whom we can depend to give us the best quality of work for the best price. So again, my urging is that each of the bureaus are assertive in mentioning to the council how important it is for this to be a budget priority moving forward.
Yes, understood. And like Tim previously mentioned, we do have inspectors out there every day with the contractors reviewing the work and ensuring that the work is performed to our specifications, to our satisfaction.
Well, not just the quality of the work performed, but who performs the work. That the work is performed by city workers moving forward. If we are successful at convincing the council and leadership that be the case, because again, it is financially prudent to have a city worker to do this work. So I agree, we always want service delivery to be effective and efficient, but at the same time, we want it to be financially prudent as well. So to advocate to the council and to our leadership that if we can have additional city workers, that should be a priority. We not only will be able to deliver this service, but we'll be able to do it in a financially prudent way as well, or at least in a more financially prudent way than certainly this proposal
Absolutely, Commissioner Davis. We're all on board. We want the city to reinvest back in the city. We can do the job. We can do it just as good, if not better. This is the type of contract where you can see the cost. If we could get the council members to vote in our budget packages, and we can move forward with hiring and acquiring the equipment that we need, we can do these contracts in-house. That's an absolute.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Seeing nothing further, I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We will send number 5 forthwith. Agenda item number 6, Council Districts 10 and 15, contract renewal, tree trimming in the parkways of Lucerne Boulevard from Olympic to 9th Street and certain other streets. Recommending that the board exercise the city's second option to renew the subject contract with West Coast Arborists Incorporated for $506,920. Secondly, instruct the executive officer of the Board of Public Works to immediately advise West Coast Arborists to submit their bonds and insurance documents within 5 working days after the date of the notification of award of the contract by the board. And third, instruct the executive officer of the board to immediately advise West Coast Arborists that work on the project must start within 5 working days from the date of the issuance of the notice to proceed. Mr. Benuelos on number 6. Mr. Tyson, I'm sorry, on number 6.
It will be both of us, President James. Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to kind of lay the background on this. For the first time, the Bureau, with the Division of Urban Forestry, set up a multi-year contract for tree trimming. Our hope was to be trimming the trees within the same year that the money is appropriated for, which we are now on the horizon right here, right now, starting, hopefully, if these are approved, to do that and make that an accomplishment. The base year or the original year of the contract, the trees were at about $163 per tree. Option year 1 was $169 average per tree, and we're thinking that option year 3 is going to be right around $171 per tree. And checking the Caltrans construction index, there's about a 3.25% index where they estimate that costs would increase per year about that much. So this is reflective of that. And with that being said, we're really in the hopes of, in our 17-18 right now, getting these contracts. We have 8 general fund contracts that are the option years, and we have 1 general fund contract that is with CD, Council District 11, and it stands alone. We're bringing some before you today. We're bringing some before you on Monday, and the remaining will be soon thereafter, so that way we can be trimming the trees as we had hoped in the same year that the money has been allocated for. And with that, I'll let Hector, Mr. Banuelos, go from there.
Morning. This contract here is, the scope of the contract is to trim 2,755 trees in Council Districts 10 and 15. This is the second and final year renewal option for the 3-year contract. The contract was advertised back in, the original contracts of the 3-year contract was advertised back in February 2016, and the bids were opened on March 30th of 2016. The contract was awarded on May 5th, 2016. That was the original, the first year. The year 1 contract commenced on June 28th, 2016. West Coast Arborists declared the responsive bidder for a total bid amount of $506,920, with a average tree cost of $184 per tree. If renewed, the contract will provide for the trimming of approximately 2,755 trees. West Coast Arborist is performing work at an acceptable level, and the year 1 option was completed on July 20th of 2017 of this year. We ask that the second year renewal option be approved by the board so that work can commence.
Okay, thank you, sir. Molly Rhodes, on this item? Okay, same, we're dealing with essentially the same issues other than the 1022. Okay, any questions for Hector? So Hector, this issue is a little bit different than the last issue, given the type of contract renewal that it is. But our position remains the same. This falls into the purview of the work that we want city crews to be doing, rather than contractors to be doing. So I'll just renew my comments on agenda item number 6 as well. Commissioner Repenning?
I just have a question about the business inclusion program. The goals that we set are pretty much not even close to being met. I mean, we started out with an 18% of MBE, 4% of WBE, 4% SBE, 4% EBE, 4% DVBE, and the achieved participation, we have 0, 0. I guess we have one small / emerging business. I guess the question I have is really about the how we set those levels and how we're so. It seems like there's, given the actual subcontracting level, which is less than 10, how we thought that they would get to 14 and et cetera.
There is a minimal participation level that we're hoping to achieve. But the actual percentage that is actually achieved, it depends upon how much outreach, how much response they get from the subcontractors.
The MSM was 8%. Is that accurate?
That was the pledge, yes, 8%.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean, it's just a question for me about, we're setting goals that are, it doesn't seem like either we should be doing more to get to those goals, or we should be setting more realistic goals given this work, which typically doesn't include a lot of subcontracting, right?
Typically. I'd have to look into that,
They do it themselves, don't they?
I'm sorry?
They do the work themselves, right?
When they cannot get any response back from the subcontractors, yes, they self-perform.
Okay. The performance thus far on the contract that we're extending in this case has been good. You're satisfied with the work product?
Yes. Yes, from subcontractors, yes. For the most part, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
In this particular, as we expand further on the discussion about business inclusion, on the particular underachievement of minority and women businesses, the prime contractor in this case did not have any available individuals in that category as it relates to this particular
It
profile?
appears, well, they do the outreach, perform the outreach to all of the enterprises, and they're trying to find the
Performed
response.
it themselves? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
They
that.
performed the outreach to all
they did the outreach.
Yes, to the MBEs, SBE, the minority
I got you.
business, and the
And then there
small
was
business.
obviously no feedback from any of those they outreached to who were interested in the job. They weren't available, basically.
Yes, that's correct.
That's what I wanted to know. And obviously, there's a limited amount of people in this category who do this work. Is that true?
Yes.
And the scope of those individuals that we have among those to whom we do a good faith effort on are within the Los Angeles County area. Is that correct?
There come from some from Riverside, as far as Riverside.
Oh, we go to Riverside as well?
Whomever responds to the request.
I see. And obviously, when we initially looked at it prior to the contractor having an opportunity to do the outreach, we saw from the market area that potentially 8% could be achieved from those from the Bureau. Felt that initially, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Then why are we setting those numbers that high?
Well, if I might add, tree work is a limited specialty classification in the construction world. And so to get companies on board that want to come in and subcontract underneath the contractor that's doing the work and stuff is very difficult. We run into this all the time. This is not something new. And that's why the prices, I feel, also are going up as well because it's limited.
I think there's also an issue of if people are available as well.
That
so
as
we
well,
might have
yes.
people that are in the market, but then by the time we get to them, they picked another job in Riverside or in Pomona. It's not that they weren't available, it's just that they weren't available to work on this specific job sometimes.
That's correct, and the outreach is done every time this is performed. So this is what comes back to the participant and what's available.
All right, thank you, guys. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6. Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? With that objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. This work sure would get a lot easier if we would have our own crews doing it. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. Thank you all. Agenda item number 1. Requested tree removal, Council District 13, 3008 through 3014 West Marathon Street. Recommending that the board certify that the board has reviewed and considered the information in the mitigated negative declaration for the project at 3008 through 3014 West Marathon Street and find the information contained therein appropriately addresses the requested tree removals. Number 2, find that the project will not have a significant environmental effect under the above described mitigated negative declaration as the imposition of the mitigation measures described in the MND and incorporated herein as project conditions such that there is no substantial evidence the proposed project will have a significant effect on the environment pursuant to the city's environmental guidelines and is in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. 3, find that the project's conflict with any local policies or ordinances protecting biological resources, such as tree preservation policies or ordinances, is less than significant with the incorporation of mitigation measures 4-70 as contained in the MND. Number 4, adopt the MND. Number 5, specify that the Bureau of Street Services Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And number 6, approve the request for a fee tree removal permit for 3 jacaranda trees. Tree replacements are required. Mr. Spindler has a card in for Pepita Pig. Mr. Spindler. Mr. Tyson, come forward, please. I know we have another card, but we'll have you lay the groundwork for this. Jacaranda trees are not protected trees, correct?
That's correct, President James. They are not.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Commissioners, board representatives, city attorney, executive officer. Marathon 12 Limited Liability Corporation is demolishing an existing single-family dwelling and merging and re-subdividing 3 lots into 14 small lot homes with 28 parking spaces at 3008 through 3014 West Marathon Street. As part of vesting tentative track 72779-SL-1A. Contained in the entitlements are Bureau of Engineering requirements that include street widening and other related street improvements. Mr. Stephen King, property owner representative, applied to the Bureau of Engineering for construction Class B permit to widen the street as part of the conditions to construct the project. The Bureau of Engineering informed Mr. King the required street widening may necessitate street tree removals. Therefore, Mr. King contacted the Bureau of Street Services requesting the project site be inspected to determine what the impacts will be on the street trees due to the required street widening. A Bureau arborist inspected the location on June 30th, 2017. The inspection revealed 3 jacaranda mimicifolia trees in fair condition growing on Marathon Street. The trees measure approximately 13 to 25 inches in diameter by 22 to 25 feet in height and are growing in a 6-foot wide parkway. 2, F1 and F3 of the 3 trees possesses poor branch structure with codominant limbs and low clearance over the sidewalk of the street. The remaining F2 tree is growing directly adjacent to the proposed driveway. However, all 3 trees are growing within the footprint of the proposed roadway and will be severely impacted by the required street widening. Within the context of the letter of determination, Bureau of Engineering condition of approval S3, Paragraph I, requires the developer to widen Marathon Street from a 15 feet half roadway to a 20 feet wide half roadway. The required street widening and related street improvements will severely impact the 3 jacaranda trees. The Bureau agrees that performing street widening and related street improvements will require the removal of 3 street trees. Marisol Rodriguez, 13th Council District Office, was informed of the tree removal request on July 12, 2017, as well as the Community Forest Advisory Committee. Public comments on this tree removal request were received and heard both in writing and in person during the scheduled public hearing with the board. The following public noticing of the tree removal permit was conducted. The applicant shall plant a minimum of 2 36-inch box-sized jacaranda trees, and this is being changed right here, right now at board by me. On site to replace the removed trees.
You're changing it to what?
I'm changing it from 2 24-inch box-sized trees to 2 36-inch box-sized trees, President James. Sorry. Also, I am also going to not allow the delivery of the other trees, all of them. We are also going to have them plant 2 24-inch box-sized trees that are going to be on the same block across the street at 3021 and 3009 Marathon Street, and they will plant 2 24-inch box Australian willow trees in those 2 locations, and the Urban Forestry Division will remove the current stumps that are in the way to plant those trees. Also, they will be allowed to deliver 2 15-gallon trees to the Bureau Nursery. The trees will be watered and maintained for a period of 3 years.
Okay, we have a speaker card. Commissioner Penny, you want to ask Mr. Tyson now or after the speaker?
We can hear the speaker first.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tyson. Speaker card, Ianthe Zeros? I'm sorry, how do you say the last name?
Zivos.
Zivos, okay, I thought the V was an R.
Oh.
Ms. Zivos, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I am a owner and resident of the 3013 through 3015 Marathon, which is directly across the street from where the small lot development is going in. I'm here to advocate for the trees, and I'm here to represent my neighbors who weren't able to be here today. We have continually met with city officials, and we've talked to multiple developers that have worked on the project to try to figure out a way to be able to preserve the mature tree canopy and be able to meet any kind of traffic mitigation that might be the requirement for the widening. We had proposed that doing an alternate side, a temporary no parking on one side of the street for rush hour conditions. But we also, we don't know what we're trying to mitigate because there's been no traffic study done on the corner. And the widening is why the trees are being essentially removed. The city has many programs that stress the importance of a mature tree street canopy. The mobility plan mentions it when it talks about the adaptive reuse of streets, talks about how the trees and the base mature street canopy provides public space and ecological infrastructure, and it stresses that it's a public space. And it talks also about communities that have many benefits from having smooth sidewalk, mature trees with shade. Our block, essentially, if these trees go, we're not going to have shade on that block for 10 years while those trees grow. One of the questions we have is if these city programs, which there are many, the sustainability plan also talks about a robust tree canopy as a counter to heat island effect and wildlife habitat. We just want to know why our trees don't count under that. Every neighbor on my block, on our block, I should say, supports preserving the old trees. We're thankful for the offer to mitigate it with larger tree replacement trees, but again, it's a 10-year period where we're not going to have shade on our block because those 3 out of 4 jacarandas are the only mature street trees that we have.
2 minutes.
Anything else you want to add, ma'am? You can finish.
I have 2 questions. I mean, essentially,
Well, you can make comments.
Oh, comments.
Yeah.
First, there's a requirement notification for this meeting, and I signed up for, on the website where when the posting went up. It never notified me that this meeting was happening. I've been following up with CD13 because I've been on point with this, and they told me last night that this meeting was happening. So the requirement for notification hasn't been met. I also just, on a personal level, we've taken care of those trees during the drought and watered them with gray water when there's been, once the properties across the street were emptied, essentially the single-family home and then I think it was a triplex where people got, so we've been maintaining them. So they have a sentimental attachment, and they're also the first project, one of the first projects of the Silver Lake Improvement Association, the planting of those trees about 20-odd years ago. So they have community meeting. And I just had to come down. I've been told essentially that, I've been told that the trees are coming out. But I had to come down and advocate because this is what the community, at least the immediate community on our block really wants, is to be able to keep our trees as they are.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Commissioner Penning, you had a question for Mr. Tyson.
I guess following up on the speaker's comments, what is the reason, as you understand it, for the widening?
Due to the development that they're going to be developing, the widening of the street will allow easier flow of traffic and parking, I'm
So
sure.
it was a city requirement?
Yes, it is. It's a Bureau of Engineering requirement.
Okay, I see. So I understand you were able to find 2 additional tree wells. Remind me why the third tree couldn't go back in where it exists currently?
I believe it's an open parkway across the street, right, Mr. Banuelos? So it's an open parkway across the street. That's why we're going to allow the trees over there. But we are actually going to remove the stumps for the developer so he can plant those trees across the street. That leaves 2 trees that would need to be planted. And if the commissioners so desire, I can send out an inspector to find the other 2 locations somewhere in the vicinity if you would request that.
My question, first of all, before we get to that, is the third tree, because we're losing 3, right?
Yes.
We're only putting 2 back in that location.
There's only room to replant 2 per the utilities and everything that would be there.
I see.
One of the trees is being removed for the driveway that has to be put in.
So you found 2 more, and then, although we're paying to remove the stubs, I mean, I have a question about the notification process and whether, what sort of happened there, and whether we want to try to give more time to see if there are other speakers that would want an opportunity to participate. But for sure, on my end, I think we should be looking to have the developer do more on this if we can. So I'll just stop there.
I just want to address the notification, and I would like to get the lady's name that just spoke, as I have the list of people here who had put in for notification, and they were, according to my colleague Hector Banuelos, they were all notified.
The trees have been posted, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, how long?
Notice of the proposed tree removals were physically posted on the subject trees on June 30th, 2017.
Commissioner Penny, you had another question?
Okay. No, I think I'll stop there and see what.
Okay. Commissioner Davis?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have any questions.
Okay, Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Tim, I'm going to ask a question regarding the conditions of the B permit. It states that it's a requirement for the developer to widen Marathon from 15 to 20. That condition, is that subject to review? It's in the board report on page 3. In terms of, the speaker had asked whether or not there was cooperation on that from any other department. Is that able to be reviewed, which basically allows the questioning of whether or not we need to widen the roadway? It is a bureau.
Sorry, Mr. Jordan may be able to answer that as well.
Yes, those conditions are imposed in the planning process, and that process concluded more than a year ago now. Just based on the record that I have, not familiar with this particular project, it appears that on June 22nd, 2016, the East Los Angeles Area Planning Commission took an action which approved that aspect of this project and those Bureau of Engineering conditions for the additional dedications were, I believe, in that approval. There was also an advisory agency decision because of the track map change with the restructuring and reconfiguration of these lots. So the conditions that we're talking about for the street widening, that was all done as part of that planning process. Again, done with a hearing and presumably an opportunity to comment and appeal, indeed, to the Planning Commission, not to this board. What we have before us now is the discretionary approval to remove the trees that is necessary in order to implement the conditions that were imposed in the planning process.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Okay. Tim, a couple of questions. Are there other areas where you can get the remaining trees, replacement trees into the area?
That's what we'll have to take a look at. I know we can get 2 of the trees across the street, which is immediate area, which is really good. We will perform stump grinding for the developer to allow him to have a place to plant them.
What?
And we can look for 2 more locations. There's only 6 replacements.
Are we required to perform that stunt grinding, or can we require that they do it?
I could require that they do it, but in this situation, we don't have our cash in lieu set yet. And so I've been trying to help get all trees replanted everywhere we can on these types of development projects, as you well know. And we're too shy here, and I'll be more than happy to go back and find something that's nearby and have him or her plant those other 2 trees, and they can water all 6 of them for 3 years.
Okay. That's what I would do. I would add that condition in. Then I would make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1 as amended. It's been amended a couple of times.
Yes.
With the additional mitigation measures. Because I don't see that we have a lot of discretion here given the ordinance requirements on the streets.
So if I may, I'll repeat that. There will be
Yes,
2
please.
36-inch box trees planted on site, jacarandum and miscefolias, and there will be 4 other trees planted off-site, and all trees will be watered for a period of 3 years.
All right.
No trees to the nursery, correct?
No trees to the nursery.
Mr. Jordan?
Yeah, just to further clarify the nature of the BOE standard, the imposition of the requirement for the dedication and improvement. Pursuant to the Planning Commission's report, it reflects that those improvement requirements, dedication and improvement, are to bring the street up to its existing street standard. So just to provide that clarification as to the reason the requirement was imposed.
Right. Understood. All right. So that's my motion. Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? All right. Without objection, that'll be the order. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Tyson, would you answer her? She has a couple of questions. Thank you, ma'am. Agenda item number 3, project labor agreement for Parker Center demolition project in Council District 14, Bureaus of Contract Administration and Engineering. Recommending that the board add the Department of Public Works project labor agreement to the project. Mr. Gonzalez?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Board of Public Works, Commissioners, City Attorney, and Public Works representatives. My name is Claude Gonzalez. I'm from the Bureau of Contract
One
Administration.
moment, sir. We have a speaker card from Mr. Wayne from Encino. Wayne from Encino? Not here. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I'm from the Bureau of Contract Administration. The City of Los Angeles has undertaken the Parker Center demolition project. On behalf of the Contract Administration, I would request the Department of Public Works project labor agreement be added to this project. The project is located at 150 North Los Angeles Street. The Bureau of Engineering has estimated the total construction cost at $17 million. This design-build project, which will completely demolish existing Parker Center facility. The project scope includes demolition of the Parker Center building, basement, adjacent parking structure, and all associated deep and shallow foundations. The project scope will also include grading, long-term fencing, stormwater management, excavation, trenching, and conduit placement for the rerouting of the communication lines. All communication lines will be relocated to the Public Works right-of-way as necessary. The Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement, PLA, provides numerous benefits to the city during the construction of public works projects. The PLA will help ensure that quality work is done properly without costly corrections. It will also provide work that is safely done by providing access to skilled workers with a commitment to training. And the PLA will also facilitate an early settlement of labor disputes and grievances without strikes, work stoppage, or lockouts, thereby promoting the public interest in assuring the timely and economical completion of the project. Furthermore, the PLA will help ensure that the maximum economic benefit will achieve for the Los Angeles residents and communities. Previously completed PLA projects of various types and sizes have created an average of 13 jobs per million of project costs. Based on this average, the Parker Center demo project could potentially generate approximately 221 jobs. Adding the PLA project labor agreement to this project will ensure that construction work includes targets for hiring local residents, local apprentice, and transitional individuals, and that these efforts are monitored by the Bureau of Contract Administration. Therefore, the Bureau of Contract Administration recommends including the PLA as part of this project.
What's the date of the demolition? Do we know?
I don't know if there's a demolition
Do
date.
you have a schedule?
Jose Fuentes, Bureau of Engineering. The Bureau currently is preparing to advertise the project, the design-build project. We anticipate that going out in the next couple of weeks. So, true to form, we're probably looking at 4 to 6 months before we start demolition.
Okay.
If all goes well,
And
no protests or anything.
How long will it take?
We're estimating right now it's going to take about 9 months to a year. There is a lot of, actually, I take that back, about a year and a half, because there's a lot of rerouting of the existing communication lines that has to be done into the public right-of-way, and that's usually time intensive.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis.
In terms of the leadership of this construction project, there is no other prime contractor on this project? Is it being done by the city alone? Who's the prime on it?
We are going out for request for proposals, so it's a design-build.
Okay, got it.
Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you. Since you're answering questions, we have done our environmental work on the project,
That's correct.
So
We have an assessment of the hazardous conditions in there, and we do have asbestos to abate and some lead. So there is an environmental report on that.
And the design build will consider all that and be true to spec so that we can, demolish the Parker Center. I understand that there's a conservancy effort to document before as it was for prosperity, but since the environmental issues have been adequately addressed, I'm fine with this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything further? Is there a motion on agenda item number 3? By Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? Thank you. We'll send number 3 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 4. Council Districts 1, 9, 13, and 14 requested contract award secondary sewer renewal program, 7th Street and Valencia Street. Recommending that the board find that it is in the City of Los Angeles' best interest to not apply the local business preference on the project as discussed in the report. Secondly, declare M&R Construction the first low bidder to be the lowest responsive responsible bidder and award M&R a contract for the project for $2,229,779. And third, authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Wayne from Encino has a card on number 4. He is not here. Go ahead, Mr. Pedrosa.
Good morning. I'm Richard Pedrosa with the Bureau of Engineering, Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division. And with me is Mr. John Patterson from the Bureau of Contract Administration. The SSRP N11 project will remove and replace and/or rehabilitate approximately 2.71 miles of 6, 8, 10, 12, and 15-inch diameter sewer lines. These sewers to be repaired are in the downtown area of Los Angeles, which is shown on the color map on page 2 of the board report. Most of the repairs will be just west of the Harbor Freeway, as shown on the map. These sewers are close to 100 years old in age, and repairs are needed due to corroded pipes, broken pipe sections, offset joints, and lateral connection offsets. This project has met all CEQA requirements, and staff have coordinated permit requirements with both LADOT and Caltrans. The contract duration is 430 calendar days. Regarding the bids, which were opened by the board on August 16th, the city engineer's estimate was $1,906,571. The lowest bid was $2,229,779 by M&R Construction, which was higher than the CE's estimate by 16.95%. The second lowest bid was by Vasilj Incorporated at a slightly higher amount of $2,242,973. On the same page of the board report, we have the Business Inclusion Program data, and the low bidder M&R, which we're recommending award to, was responsive for 1.87% MBE, 0.19% SBE, and 0.19% EBE, and 36.98 OBE. And then the second bidder was not responsive, only to OBE percentages at 37.33%. Both M&R and Vasil have complied with the BIP outreach requirements of the bid. And regarding the local business preference program, I'll turn it over to Mr. John Patterson to discuss that with you.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning. John Patterson with the Bureau of Contract Administration. Regarding the local business program, the city adopted this program to increase local employment and expenditures within local business private sectors. Bidders that qualify to receive the LBE preference may be granted an 8% reduction of their bid amount solely for bid evaluation purposes. As it pertains to the local business preference program, only Vasilj qualified for the LBE credit. At the time the bids were due, M&R Construction was not certified as an LBE. However, prior to bid, M&R were certified as a local business enterprise. They had originally applied for certification in August 2012. They did meet the criteria for the program. They were certified as a local business enterprise since August 6, 2012. As Richard noted, this project was bid on August 16, 2017. M&R Construction's LBE certification expired on August 6, 2017. So roughly 2 weeks prior to bids being due, their LBE certification expired. Once M&R were made aware of that by contract administration staff, they re-uploaded a new affidavit, met the criteria to be certified again, so they are currently certified as a local business enterprise company. Again, since the intent of the local business preference program is to increase local employment expenditures to level the playing field for local businesses whose costs do tend to be higher than those of local businesses, because the low bidder is a local business, Bureau of Contract Administration is recommending that the board find it is in the city's best interest to not apply the local business preference on this project and to recommend award to M&R Construction.
Okay, they're about $13,000 apart or so, as I recall, and they're both local businesses. So M&R is your recommendation. Commissioner Center, you have a question?
Thank you, James. Yeah, I just wanted to state that at the time of the bid opening, they were not. They had let it lapse. And so to M&R, in terms of their administrative upkeep,
That
terms
is
of the
correct.
certification?
I did want to note, not discussed in the report, the Business Inclusion Program outreach is required to be completed 15 days prior to bid due date. So they were in the process of doing that Business Inclusion Program outreach, potentially receiving bids from subcontractors at the same time as their LBE was coming up for renewal. Not necessarily an excuse, just something of note.
Right. As long as we communicated to them that certification is a certification, and that's why we're here, to give that consideration. I'm fine with it. It's good that they have a bit of MBE and SBE and EBE. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any issues sending number 4 forthwith? We will send number 4 forthwith. Dr. Campos, that clears us of all the voting items, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Agenda item number 9, grant-funded programs and project status reports. We'll start with Bureau of Engineering. Mr. Edwards.
Good morning, Commissioners, President. Gene Edwards, Bureau of Engineering. We have both the street program and the bridge program reporting this morning. So I will start with the street program. I believe you're getting handouts. In the handouts, you have 2 items. One is our street improvement 3-year capital improvement program master schedule. And the second handout is the project status report spreadsheet with updates for each of our 90 active projects on our schedule. The Gantt chart schedule is sorted by construction start date, and the spreadsheet is sorted by project title alphabetically. The total construction value of all the projects on our program master schedule is approximately $214 million. Many of our projects in our program are grant-funded, have grant funding components. The breakdown of the funding for each project is shown in the funding column on the status report, and the total dollar amount for each funding source is rolled up in a separate table at the end of the report. Of the 90 projects programmed, approximately 59 are in design, 7 are in the bid and award process, and 24 are in construction or being closed out. For your interest, I will highlight the status of a few of our larger grant projects. Project number, I know he's still handing those out, sorry, I'm going too fast. Project number 3 on the status report is titled 7th Street Streetscape Project. And last summer, Council District 14 requested that BOE and DOT develop a task order for BOE to manage a consultant that will provide planning and design services in order to accelerate delivery of this project. The project will improve pedestrian safety along 7th Street from Figueroa to Alameda, providing curb extensions, sidewalks, pedestrian lighting, enhanced crosswalks, and amenities such as street furniture, trees, buffers from traffic, and bike racks. The design will be closely coordinated with the separate streetcar project. The project has, or is currently budgeted at $16 million, as outlined in council motion dated October 25th of this year. And in the council motion, funding proposed is broken down into 3 components. Approximately $8 million is in Wilshire grant funds. Approximately $2.1 million is in Affordable Housing Sustainable Community Grant Funds, or AHSC grant funds. And there's also proposed $6 million in SB1 gas tax funding. The next project that I would like to talk about is project number 29, which is the Burbank Boulevard widening from Lancashire to Cleon Avenue. This project has a construction budget of approximately $8.3 million and a total cost of approximately $15.5 million, not including the DWP relocation costs, which will be substantial. This project will widen approximately 0.7 miles along Burbank by 12 feet on both sides. The project is nearly finished with right-of-way acquisition.
pending a court date to occur on December 20th of this month. If the court clears the real estate issues, we intend to meet the funding deadline of February 28th, 2018 to obtain our E76 authorization to proceed. And the final project I would like to highlight is project number 32, which is the Century Boulevard extension from Great Street to Alameda. This is the new street extension which goes through the Jordan Downs housing development or the redevelopment. Currently, construction costs are approximately $14 million. The project is under construction. Sewer and storm drains have been installed. The contractor is currently working on power infrastructure and green elements such as storm trap and modular wetland collection systems. And in January, scheduled to start is the water supply system. The project is funded by a combination of funding sources such as the federal call grant, CDBG, HUD grant funding, and there's also HACLA contributed money and their partners, the developer partners' private money. Okay, before I conclude, I'd also like to mention that the BOE Street Improvement Group is assisting LAHCID, which is the Housing and Community Investment Department, with this year's grant applications for the third round of Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities, or AHSC, grant funds. Unlike last year when city developers, when the city assisted developers with the applications, and then the developers were to construct the public improvement components within the city right away. This time, if the grants are awarded, the design and construction of the public work improvements will be managed by the Bureau of Engineering. Currently, there are 8 projects that are being applied for. Grant applications are due next month. If all the projects are awarded the grant, there's a potential of several $1 million each, and so the impact would be considerable on our unprogrammed resources, design resources. So if that occurs, the Bureau would be looking at the utilization of consultants to augment staff and design efforts. With that, I conclude my report. Are there any questions?
Commissioner Davis.
Thank you for the report, and obviously we are doing great work throughout the city, and I like the fact that you have highlighted various projects geographically, strategically located throughout different parts of the city. Do we have any understanding of how well we have done in terms of business inclusion on these projects? I recognize that some of the projects are federally funded, and through the structure of the federal government, we are able to, it appears in the past, achieve diversity pretty well on those projects. I don't know how many of these, if any, are locally funded, but overall, how would you say that we have done summarily in terms of the business inclusion on these projects?
Correct. So with each award, we do report to the board, and from my recollection, we more times than not meet the goals of either a DBE for federal projects or maybe we be OBE for the locally funded projects. There are times when the recommended award goes to someone who does not meet those goals. But for each one of those situations, we explain to you the reasons why. So in general, as far as attainable goals, I would say the majority of the awarded contracts do meet those goals.
Okay, good. And I don't know if it's realistic that we could add some indication of how we've done on those to this report, but certainly we'll be asking you about them when you
we can do that, certainly. We will do that next time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Gene, I would just mention that this this chart description with the breakdown at the end is helpful for us. At least it's helpful for me to get a sense of just what all is happening in this arena.
Yeah.
So it's very helpful. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. It's on a weird size of paper, so when I try to keep it, it's always, I kind of try and fold it differently. I'm not saying change anything.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of, when you fold it this way, it kind of sticks out a little bit.
Gotcha.
But no, it's helpful to get the info is very helpful for us to get a sense of what all is happening and when and what's grant funded and what's not. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Any other questions for Mr. Edwards? Anything else from the Bureau of Engineering?
We have one more speaker, Mr. President.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Wen Qing with the Bureau of Engineering Bridge Improvement Division. This morning, my division manager, Shirley Law, is not available to be here. She asked me to provide you with a status report of a number of bridge projects. Please refer to my handout. First of all, on the cover sheet is an aerial photo of the recently completed Soto Street at the Mission Road and Huntington Drive project. I will go over this project with more information in a moment. On page 2, there are 5 bridges that I will report today. Other than the Soto at Mission and Huntington, we finished the construction work on Van Nowen Street Bridge over Bull Creek a few months ago. I will also talk about the other 3 projects that are heavily under construction at this moment. Turning the page, the project on Soto Street at the Mission and Huntington is kind of special. Instead of building a bridge, this project demolished an old, functionally obsolete one. With the bridge removed, we were able to realign the street, add bike lanes, and improve traffic safety and efficiency. This project paved 4,700 feet long, 10 feet wide sidewalk, planted 60 new trees, and created more than 50,000 square feet of new open space. The photo on the upper left is an artwork installed over the community assembly area. The photo on the lower right shows 2 plaques for recognition and the project narrative. The photos on the next page were taken on the day of grant's opening. Commissioner Jacinto.
Yeah, there he is right there trying to get in the front.
Thank you.
He's about to knock Gary Leemore right out of the picture.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto, for being with us and joining Councilman Weiser in this wonderful celebration.
I noticed they caught the photographer caught the photo when everyone was speaking and had their mouths open. So that's a good one. Go ahead.
Thank you. The next bridge is on Van Nowen Street over Bull Creek. It is in West San Fernando Valley. The bridge used to be a bottleneck, but after widening, it is aligned with the approaching street and has wider sidewalk. On next page, which is page 6.
I see a little hometown going on with the photos here. Commissioner Jacinto's bureau here at Bureau of Engineering, his photos in on the grand opening on the page before. I happen to have been at the one on the Van Owen Street at Bull Creek, but my photo didn't make it in here.
Sorry.
Commissioner Jacinto must be editing these reports.
I only dig out the most recent one, but I dig deeper.
Go ahead.
On page 6, the historic North Spring Street Bridge features 2 arch spans over the river channel. The following page, page 7, has 2 close shots taken from within the channel, directly underneath the bridge. Currently, we are installing railing and lighting now. The widened bridge will have adequate shoulder on both sides to safely accommodate bicycle traffic, and the work will be completed in the later part of spring 2018. On page 8, similar to the North Spring Street Bridge project, the Riverside Drive Bridge near Zoo Drive is widened on one side. While widening the bridge, we are building a bicycle underpass as an extension of the Los Angeles River Bikeway. Currently, the contractor is preparing final striping and installing lighting fixtures. Completion of construction is scheduled in June 2018. On the last page is Laurel Canyon Boulevard Bridge over Tahunga Wash. The bridge widening is completed. The contractor is paving the deck and preparing final striping now. The work is scheduled to be done in January 2018. In addition to my oral report, we have prepared a brief video of the Soto Mission project. This video includes a few footages taken during construction and a flyover of the completed project. It is about 4 minutes long and was loaded in the computer now. But I notice time is running late, so it's really up to you. If you can accommodate, squeeze this 4 or 5 minutes, I would.
Can you email it to us?
Sure, I would be happy to do that.
Yeah, why don't you email it to us?
Sure, I'll do that after the meeting.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Jacinto?
99%. We'll change that Van Owen Bridge. Add that front cover. No, these are bridge programs, projects are so transformational. Not only the Soto, but all these ones that create the bike path across that link LA on the river. Bridges are just great programs because they're so transformational. To see that community come out there with Councilman Weezar and the culmination of all our departments working together was wonderful. So a shout out to the bridge program, to you all, and Shirley. Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Yes, and the historic value of the bridges to the city and the community is very important. I don't know how many hundreds of times I've crossed the Riverside Drive near Zoo Drive Bridge on foot. That's where we train. Back when I used to do marathons, we train right there at Griffith Park, and we cross that bridge too when we run into the community, and actually make our way into Burbank through there. I am anxious to see. I've kind of watched it progress over time because I've been there now, I don't know, 10 years or so, training every season, and anxious to see the opening on June 2018. But great work, and these bridges are a real historic jewel for the communities.
Mr. James, thank you for your nice word. Although I forgot to dig out your photo, I do remember you told us when we were here, asked you to award the contract. You told us that Riverside Drive and the Zoo Drive is your jogging route.
That's right.
So we pushed the contractor very hard, and I'm glad to tell you, if we can finish this project in June of next year, it is actually a year and a half ahead of the schedule.
Oh, that's great. Well, we appreciate it, and I do give it every Saturday morning my bird's eye view as I cross it. There are some real high curbs, by the way, when you're stepping up to cross the bridge on foot. It's the curb is much higher in the afternoon than it is in the morning because we're finishing the run. And so the same curb for some reason looks twice as high. Yeah, it's amazing how it works that way. But thank you, sir. We appreciate this. Any questions on the bridge program? All right, thank you very much. And please send the video.
I will.
I would really like to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Bureau of Street Services, Kevin.
morning, I think. Yeah, good morning, Commissioners, Bureau representatives. My name is Kevin Min. I'm with the Bureau of Street Services Design Build Division. Fernando's handing out a list of projects that represent the portfolio of grant-funded projects that the Bureau handles. This list is a list that we report to the Street and Transportation Project Oversight Committee, which is chaired by the CAO, CLA, and Mayor's Office. We provide them a monthly update on the status of projects and various transportation issues that affect the grant sort of world. On the list, we have currently 40 active projects in various stages of implementation worth roughly $76 million. Of those 40 projects, 14 are in construction, 18 are in design, and 8 are going through some form of approval through Caltrans. The Bureau receives a large portion of its grant funding through the Metro Coffer projects. Currently, 25 of the 40 projects worth roughly $43 million come in through that particular program. The remaining projects are funded through various grant sources, including the Safe Routes to School program, Highway Safety Improvement Program, Community Development Block Grants, federal earmarks, and other local funding sources like Measure R, and probably Measure M and SB1 in the future. One of the things I wanted to just mention, kind of in line with what you were discussing earlier regarding the tree removals, that all of these projects are being handled through the Bureau's design build method, meaning that all the projects are designed in-house and constructed in-house with city staff. And it's something that we're very proud of, and we want to continue doing long-term. I think I wanted to mention that we provide design and construction management support for DOT's bikeway program, specifically for the design and construction of the bike paths, including the Ellie River bike path, the San Fernando Road bike path, and some other bike paths throughout the city. I was informed this morning that the California Transportation Commission allocated funding through the Active Transportation Program yesterday to start the construction of the Ellie River Headwaters project, which we're helping design and construct. So you should be seeing an advertisement pretty soon coming from the Bureau of Engineering, even though we're with the project manager on behalf of DOT for that particular project. And it should be worth somewhere around $4 to $5 million of constructed value. One project that's not on our list currently is something that's relatively new to the Bureau, and the same CTC meeting yesterday, we're anticipating receipt of an award of a new grant under the SB1 Climate Adaptation Planning Program. It's a new program that looks to developing plans and finding ways to counteract climate change. This particular grant is going to be focused on reducing the ambient temperatures around the Orange Line Sherman Way station for commuters to and from that station. We'll be exploring different methodologies for essentially reducing the impact of heat as pedestrians commute to and from that particular station. We're also working with the council offices and some other community groups on developing new projects to be applied for under the Active Transportation Program Cycle 4. And one of the significant changes this cycle is the addition of $100 million annually of SB1 funds being infused into that program, which essentially doubles the size of that particular grant program. So we're anticipating a fairly large award, even though we're not really sure exactly what projects we'll be applying for right now. In the near future, we'll probably have a better picture of exactly what's being proposed and exactly what we're going to apply for, and the likelihood of us receiving those awards. So with that, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Great, thank you, Kevin. Again, the information is very helpful to give us a sense of the scope. I always look forward to getting this. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for this report and to reiterate how critically important it is for us to be able to capture grants, and they really offset some of the funding needs that we have in the city. So I want you to know how much we are appreciative of a robust and progressive grant writing team. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. Anything else for street services? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Bureau of Sanitation. Mr. Amon.
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners, and
Bureau representatives. My name is Adan Iman with the Bureau of Sanitation Financial Management Division. Sanitation has prepared a comprehensive grants report for the period covering from May 1, 2017 through November 30, 2017. Attachments A through F have been distributed for your review as I go through my oral report. The Bureau currently has $24.9 million in executed grant agreements for 31 grants as reflected in the semi-annual active grant summary attachment A and in the detail of attachment B. The amount represents 2 grants totaling $3.6 million for the Clean Water Program, 3 grants totaling $1.9 million for the Environmental Quality Program, 17 grants totaling $9.5 million for the Solids Program, and 9 grants totaling $9.9 million for the Watershed Program. In Attachment C, the Bureau was awarded $5.9 million in grant funding for 5 projects during this reporting period. $1 million for the beverage container recycling city-county payment 2016-17, $300,000 for the Brownfield Assessment Cooperative Agreement, $3.5 million for the Hibernian Digester Gas Utilization Project, $1 million for the Used Oil Payment Program Aid Cycle 2017-18, and $19,000 for the Waste Tire Amnesty Grant. Front funding for these 5 projects will be provided by sanitation special funds. There will be no impact on the general fund. In Attachment D, the Bureau was denied funding for 6 projects totaling $25 million during this reporting period. Projects denied fall into 2 categories. The first one is the Cal Recycle, and the second one is the urban greening. The reasons for the denial are as follows. The Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station Organic Process Facility, a recycle project, was expected to be shovel-ready as the project, if awarded, has to be implemented in 1 year. Sanitation wasn't ready to implement this project in 1 year. Our Soil Resources Division is now in the process of issuing requests for proposals to design and process requests to design and construct a facility. There is no environmental impact report or evidence of community support yet for the project. In short, the timing for submitting the application was not opportune, but in future, after the facility is ready and other elements are in place, we'll be more competitive in this kind of grant. Regarding the urban greening projects that were not awarded, the Stormwater Division, which applied for the project, focuses more on stormwater capture rather than urban greening. Also, these grant opportunities received overwhelming responses from other applicants. One of the denial letters noted that there were approximately $400 million in requests submitted for just $76 million available. Despite this, sanitation was awarded green projects in the past and will continue to apply for future opportunities for green projects. On the other hand, it must be added that RAD is implementing 2 tree planting projects in disadvantaged communities in Los Angeles. The Greater Greener Los Angeles project will plant 2,000 trees, and the South LA Carbon into Canopy is planting 1,800 trees in Los Angeles. The bottom line is urban greening is an important priority of the Bureau of Sanitation. In attachment E, the Bureau is currently awaiting funding decisions for 9 projects totaling $17 million. The last part, attachment F, is a pending loan and grant application with the State Water Recycling Funding Program. One loan application process is ongoing with the state for $460 million to design and construct a recycled water purification, conveyance, and associated facilities at the DC Tillman Water Reclamation Plant to replenish the San Fernando groundwater basin. This concludes my oral report. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Repenning.
Thank you for the report, Adon. So just the ones that we had talked about in our briefing that I wanted more information on, which you provided, and I appreciate. The one I wanted to go back to was the Cal Recycle Organics grant that we did not get.
Yeah.
What again was the?
Yeah, they said, these Cal Recycle grants are like they are cyclists.
Right.
So they were expecting that we'd be ready to implement the project. But we don't have the facility. Now they are issuing requests for proposals.
So they're
want to
looking
build
for,
a facility, yes.
They're looking for projects that are more shovel-ready.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't the right time for us to apply for
Okay.
that.
I always get concerned when I look at the list of grants not awarded, because I know how much staff time goes into applying. So I want to make sure that we're applying for things that, that are strategic. So my question as well about the California Natural Resources, we applied for 4 different projects, which we did not get as well. So, but I heard your explanation of that one. All right, thank you, Adon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you once again for a great report, and also once again to say how important it is critically for us to be able to capture these grant monies and how they offset the regular revenues that we have to depend on to deliver services. And finally, I'd like to say to you that I do appreciate you sharing with us the challenges that we have had for some of the grants for which we applied where we were not successful. And hopefully we will have learned the details in the instructions given from these grants, such as having them ready, shovel ready. So the next time before we even apply, we'll know that one of the criteria is when we apply, we got to be shovel ready, and we can save some time. But I, more than what happened, appreciate you sharing with the board some of those challenges, and I'm almost confident that we have learned from those. And so in our next report, hopefully our ratio of those that we were not able to obtain will be even lessened. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bureau of Street Lighting. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, President James and department heads. I'm Asad Al-Najjar from the Bureau of Street Lighting, and I'm presenting to you the oral report for the CDBG street lighting projects. Now, for this quarter, per Commissioner Jacinto's comment last time, we changed it from the two-sided one-pager to a full PowerPoint.
I saw that.
Hopefully, you'll like it better. If you want another improvement, we'll gladly do it.
Go right ahead.
The next one. So the CDBG projects are all initiated by the council districts, in which they must have over 50% of low moderate income residents, and they must meet the national objective. Some additional criteria, of course, will improve the application, such as the high crime rate area, or the high visibility for pedestrian traffic areas, or hotspots as defined by LAPD. All of those will add points to enhance that the project is selected. And the application process initially is started by my group at the Community Services Division, in which we receive and evaluate the eligibility of these projects, prepare the preliminary estimates, and then submit it to HUD and hopefully once it's approved, then we start the pre-design. So once it's approved, we start the PEP process, which is the Project Eligibility Program application, and get the federal funding allocated. So right after the PEP process starts, there will be two paths that go parallel. One which is the street lighting design by the Grant Fund Division, and the Prop 218 process, so that this way we start the balloting system and getting the essentials for the community outreach. At the same time, our group is doing the design. Once the design is completed, the Street Lighting Field Operation Division will do the work, and this will guarantee that we minimize the cost and we control the funds required for this new system installed. If in the case our yard is not capable because of time restraints, then we would do the contract out. But so far we've been managing with our own field operations. The projects, and I added for you the two pictures showing the most two that we use. The concrete CD851 pole with the Lumic Renaissance, the teardrop LED, which was used in Elysian Valley Phase 4 and Elysian Valley Phase 5. Also, we used the CD851, which is the same concrete pole with the traditional Cobra head LED light. And those went to Lemon Grove, Arleta, Carl Street, Van Nuys, Marston Street, and Denver Avenue. So the current projects we have is the Van Nuys Marston Street lighting improvement, which is 34 units, estimated at $600,000 for CD6, which is right now in pre-design. The Elysian Valley Lighting Phase 5 is in pre-design with 20 units, $400,000 at CD13. Arleta Carl Street Lighting Improvement, 21 units, $420,000 CD6, also in design. Denver Avenue Lighting Improvement, 15 units, $300,000 in CD8. Now, in last report, I reported Denver Avenue as being part of the application for fiscal year 2000-2018. But then when we made the reapplication, had realized that it had failed this application, and they informed us that there is enough money to put it back. So right now, instead of waiting for May 2018 approval, Denver immediately jumped in. And the reasoning is CD8 has high volume of human trafficking, and CD8 wanted us to get the street lighting system upgraded and add the new lights immediately as soon as we can finish the design. Other projects currently under construction, the Elysian Valley Phase 4, which is estimated to complete by the end of this month. It's 10 units at $200,000 in CD13. And the Van Nuys Lemony Street project, which is 38 units at $750,000, will be completed by the end of February 2018. The recently completed projects, we have the Sun Valley Phase 6, which completed May 2017, 42 units in CD6. The Glassell Park Transit Media Pavilion, which completed October 2017 with 10 units in CD13. The Sun Valley Lighting Improvement Phase 5, which is 40 units in CD6, completed in October 2016. Sun Valley Roscoe Crockett, which is 10 units, completed in February 2017 in CD6. And the Van Nuys Cohasset at San Bernardino Avenue with 28 units, which completed May 2017. So now the applications we have for fiscal year 2018-19, which is program year 44, down to 3 applications. Sun Valley Wheatland Street Lighting, 25 units in CD6. Elysian Valley Lighting Project Phase 6, in 60 units in CD13. And Valeria Street, which is 31 units in CD6. I added sketches showing the limits for each one of these 3. So as you see, the Sun Valley Wheatland, it's between Sunland, Glen Oaks, Pawnee, and New Haven. And the area was selected, of course, by Council District 6. Next one is the Elysian Valley 6, which is Riverside Drive, Arnold Street to Gateway Street. And this one, if you remember, it's an extension of the southern portion. We did already the Elysian Valley 4 and finishing 5, which is north of the limits I show. So once this is completed, the whole blocks that you see on this screenshot will be improved. And the last one for CD6 is Valerio Street, which is Sepulveda Boulevard, Valerio, and Wyandotte. And that one is 31 units. And I'll gladly answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Assad, great report. Thank you very, very much. The units that CBDG is funding under our street lighting projects, all of them are new.
Yes.
All of them are installations, and there's a common misperception that our entire city is lit all the way around, and that's not entirely correct, that there are parts of the city that are lacking street lights.
Exactly. Parts of the city are lacking, and this is all brand new. Foundations, conduit, service, everything.
LED.
Everything LED, yeah.
So efficient. So this is really the lighting of the future for our
Right.
city.
Plus, when we're going LED, of course, that reduced the cost because now we are using less gauge of wire. So the wire cost is less, which means smaller conduit in width. So this way we'll save on the conduit itself too. And given it's LED, it's saving on the power. So it's savings all around.
Are these, Assad, are these poles able to be dual purpose for like the street light, you know, the dual, like the smart pole technology, or are these specifically and exclusively street lights?
Yes and no. We can have attachments so that it serve as a smart pole, which is possible. But if we want to put 100% smart pole, then we cannot use the concrete pole. We would use one of the 2 units that we are using right now, which is the steel. But as is the concrete, yes, we can add attachments or antenna boosters at the top of the cap, and this way it would be part of the mobile operator mesh network.
Okay, because that's going to be good for Jeff Ledoux in our AGF process where they can co-locate, which is what our board really wants to try to encourage. So thank you. This is great.
Exactly.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything further? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we like the PowerPoint format. So the oral reports will be received, and Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
And we are adjourned this Friday morning. Thank you, everyone.